Well, Luna, it's been a good run. I think there's a lot of people that are sad, a lot of people that are probably disappointed. Is there anything that you want to say? Yeah, that's what I thought. I think it's a Plato quote that dogs shouldn't create cryptocurrency. I know, Luna. I know. It's okay. We'll just have to pick up and soldier on, like we always do, right? I don't love you any less because your crypto project flopped. Okay, you get it. Rest in peace, Luna. Holy shit. So that is what it looks like to go to zero. Actually going to zero. Look at that. We saw a top 10 cryptocurrency go to zero in like 2 days, 3 days. I am as shocked as anyone. I wanted to take a moment to just share some thoughts and yeah, what does this mean? And in my last video, which was a couple days before things really started tanking, I was talking about this idea of developing a crypto thesis, and just this is a great practice that you can do in your life. Asking yourself, what do I believe, and why do I think I believe that, and what would make me change my beliefs? And I think if we're not actively asking those questions, we are bound to get trapped by not seeing information or getting stuck in a paradigm or a past reality that doesn't fit anymore. And I don't know that I have anything, shocking and dire that is my new reality, but I did want to take a second to just say, okay, what does this mean that a project that was kicking ass, like Luna, what does it mean to have it all of a sudden just tank, taking the investments and staked assets of hundreds of thousands of people, probably billions of dollars worth of sort of digitized assets, and to just wipe that off the map. So anyway, let's dive in. I have a little mind node as usual. So let's talk about Luna. Let's talk about lessons from Luna. So first of all, what happened? And I'm not an expert here, but I want to share with you my understanding of what played out in Luna, independent from Bitcoin and everything else. So essentially, the Terra ecosystem is made up of two sister cryptos. One is Luna, which has been kind of doing this. It's really been on a tear. And actually, as recently as a few days ago, I was looking at Luna and I was thinking about, gosh, if there was just one crypto I could have bought and just put all my eggs in that basket, Luna would have been a pretty good choice, all things considered. So this is Luna, and then there is another token that is UST. And this is a stable coin, and we're going to talk a little bit about stable coins, why they're important, and why they're now really at risk. But the thing about Luna is that its value has been going up. So it was as high as $120 a couple weeks ago. I think in April it was at a high of $120 per token. And then, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. UST is a stable coin. The idea is that it pegs to the dollar. And so there's different stable coins that peg to the dollar. There's different ways that they do that. Things like Circle's USC, that is pegged to the dollar because it is supposedly backed by assets. I'm pretty sure in the case of USC. USDT Tether is also supposedly backed by assets, although I've talked to this channel before about some of my misgivings about what those backings really are, and if everyone went to cash out Tether, if there would actually be the US dollars to represent it or not. But with Terra, UST, and Luna, it was really quite ingenious. Clearly, it didn't work, but The idea was that UST was able to stay at $1 because it was using its sister token Luna to be adjusting the supply of UST algorithmically, so that it was cashing out USTs into Luna and Luna into UST to keep that value of UST at $1. And anyone who had UST could take that and exchange it for $1 worth of Luna, which when that was, the price was at $120, that was a stable kind of space, or even you could be making gains on your Luna. There was also Anchor protocol where you could stake your Terra tokens. I'm not sure if it was UST or Luna or both, but essentially you were getting a yield from that. And so it was this whole system that was working in concert with itself to keep UST a stable coin and to keep Luna as this just digital asset like a lot of the others that was going up in value and had utility. And I think in Korea, I think that's where the Terra team is from, they were getting to the point where you could actually buy groceries and coffee with UST. So what happened? So let's see, if I go to my UST chart, let's just look at UST, USD. Just look at it on Binance. Let's go to, oops. Is this right? We're at 30 cents. Wow, that's just crazy. Let's go to a 6-hour chart. So everything was cruising, everything was going fine, and then all of a sudden UST lost its peg. So it was all of a sudden worth less than $1, and the algorithm wasn't able to, or at least initially the algorithm was able to bring it back to close to $1. But then there was a successive hit and a successive hit, and once it lost its peg, it sent a cascade of fear where people were then cashing out UST. And also, I think what a lot of people were doing is, because you could cash out a UST for $1 worth of Luna, when UST was worth 69 cents, people were still able in some exchanges to cash that out for $1 worth of Luna and then sell the Luna for another asset. And basically that arbitrage was able to create value just by the difference, because the algorithm was supposed to keep this at $1. It was less than $1. You still got $1 worth of Luna. So I think that there were huge moves to exploit this temporary loophole, this problem in the algorithm, and that compounded made this an untenable situation where the selling pressure was out of balance with what the algorithm could do to keep up. Like I said, I'm not an expert here. Definitely dig deeper if you really want to know the mechanics of this. This is just me noodling through my, what do I think I know? This is how I'm understanding it based on just like skimming a few CoinDesk articles and things like that. I have read some things where people were saying that this was an orchestrated attack by other interests that were trying to bring down Luna, bring down crypto in general. There may be some validity to that. I don't know. We'll talk about that in a sec. But the net effect was that when UST lost its peg, the entire ecosystem went out of balance, and Luna went from the darling of the cryptoverse to, essentially zero. We're at 1.4 cents. And there was a wick down as low as 1.06 cents. So that's 99% just plummet in its value. Okay, let's get back to this little mine node. So that's my appraisal of what happened. An algorithmic stablecoin it was an experiment. I think it was functioning. And I think that because it's algorithmic and the protocols are in a way built, that they are targets for attacks. There are things that can happen where the algorithm will act in a certain predictable known way that can take it out of balance. And I think that the actual developers of the Terra ecosystem were attempting to mitigate and solve those things, but I don't think that they anticipated anything of this order of magnitude. So who benefits from this, really? I mean, when something like this happens, they always say when there's a crisis or a big occurrence, ask the question, who benefits from this? And as I've been thinking about that, there's a couple clear answers. I think one is just the people that are excited, eager, and willing to prey on an exploit or a loophole or to make a quick buck. That arbitrage process of selling UST, buying Luna, repeating the process. I think there were maybe large entities, small people as well. I think there was just that kind of feeding frenzy of preying on a wounded animal. So there's a benefit. I personally, if I kind of dig deep and search a little deeper, I think that we who have been in crypto, who have been excited about the potential and the freedom of projects like this, there is the sense that this goes in the face of the financial institutions, governments, all of the people who have held the purse strings on the world's money supply. Crypto has always been a direct assault on some of those mentalities. And I think something like Luna, and if you go to the Luna website and actually watch the video that's from several months ago with what's his name? I'm going to say it wrong, Ko Wan or whatever it is. Just that enthusiasm that we can change the world, we can build something better, we can fix the monetary system, yada yada yada. I think that with a project like this, it is an attack on larger paradigms, on larger institutions, and I don't have a horse in this race necessarily. I don't have a dog in this fight. I do have a dog named Luna, but this is just my standing back and kind of appraising that exploiting an algorithmic stablecoin undermines the world's confidence in crypto, in stablecoins. That has been a topic that even going back to a year ago with U.S. regulation, a lot of people were talking about stable coins and wanting to regulate them. And we can see why, in some level, regulation of stable coins is, it makes sense. I think a lot of people got really badly hurt in this Luna incident, especially because it was perceived as so stable and that vision was really sold. People bought into it. People staked on Anchor, and it's all gone. All of it's gone. So that just builds this case for regulation. When we talk about building causes, about price movement, I also think that there's building causes for action, regulatory action, or, in the case of like XRP, there was a cause built to go after this company, this project with, an idea that they were going to combat the current keepers of the monetary system. So that's how I'm viewing this. I'm looking at this whole situation. I'm sad for the people that got hurt by this, and I could have very easily been one of them. I was thinking, a couple weeks ago, gosh, if I could only send a note back in time and tell myself, like, ignore everything else, just buy a shit ton of Luna and stake in Anchor and make 20%, and like that's the way to go. That's way better than riding the roller coaster, and then boom, to zero. I'm just saying that a lot of people I think got hurt, and I think that needs to be just felt and acknowledged. The Jedis are feeling this one in the cryptoverse. This is like a mass extinction of a pretty big ecosystem, a pretty big project. It's going to have ripple effects. It's going to be, I think, collectively what we always see or have seen in these down cycles, in the bear market, in these building the cause to reset the spring and do it again. If I go to just Let's just go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin traded as low as 25,000 earlier today. See if I can have kind of a cleaner chart show up. Oop, I have so many charts with so many drawings. It's kind of ridiculous at times. Let's go back to just the weekly. Keep it on the log. Oops. And so let's just look at BLX. That's what I want. Where's my BLX? I have this set to sort by percent down, so it's okay. Here we go. So, I mean, look how many times this has happened, that we've gone from these peaks all the way down to these valleys. And my point is, if we go back in the internet Wayback Machine and look at, moments like this, where price dropped and kind of broke those support levels, let's just try this. I don't know how good this is going to be for, the sake of video, but what date was this? This was the 19th of November, 2018. I'm going to just say crypto news November, what was it, 19th, 2018? Bitcoin news summary. Here's what happened in Bitcoin in the week in... I don't know. I'll dig a little deeper into this, but my theory is that if we go back in any one of these cycles and look at how the news cycle works, the crises that happen, ICOs were the big deal in the last bull market run, and where are the ICOs this time around? Well, they all got wiped out. This time around we've had stable coins, we've had DeFi, NFTs. And I think in this slide back down, which I've drawn on here, time and time again, of just saying I think that we're trying to go lower before we get to the next halving and the next big causes built. I think there's going to be a lot of just scary business and really questioning whether crypto is worth anything at all, and a lot of these projects going to zero. And I think that is just sort of the rinse and repeat, building this cause to continue the game. Because once that happens, once everyone's rinsed out and big holdings can be bought up and kind of maintained by the bigger interests in a lot of these assets, the ones that will continue, the Ethereums and the Bitcoins, and I don't really know what that's going to end up being, but it takes this amount of time to get to a point, and I don't think it's going to go straight down and just crawl along the bottom. I mean, look, last time there was this big drop, and then it kind of climbed back out, and then we had a COVID moment, and then we climbed back out. So there's likely to be some, waves in here, but the overall trend is just kind of rinsing out, getting ready to repeat this cycle. And when we get to 2024, I mean, what would drive a cycle like this? It's not just business as usual and crypto's hot again. It's big world events. It's fear. It's greed. It's all of those elements that all blend together, just like inflation was the huge concern and COVID and this whole, I mean, just remember what that felt like. It really felt like the world was changing, and it was either like sink or swim, do or die, save yourself or drown. And I think when we get to these next moments of real crypto enthusiasm, it'll be driven by just as much real world chaos and concern. And just buckle up, I guess. So the macro picture, I'm not going to go too far into this because I have to drop here in a second for a meeting. But, the stock market as well, if we just go to the Dow Jones and just look at this, this bubble structure that we're rounding the top of, coming out of COVID and the absolute, pandemonium of just blasting back off and getting into another, kind of peak moment for this age and stage of the U.S. and global economies. I've been thinking a lot about a video that I watched and a book that I now have right here by Ray Dalio, which is funny because I think Ray Dalio is actually kind of a cool guy. I like his principles. I've watched some of those videos. And Ray Dalio is like the daddy of hedge funds. He's like, when we talk about whales, we talk about like market movers, like he's the guy. But at the same time, you know, he's got a human soul. He's putting out some really cool information. And I do think that it's worth checking out the video version of The Changing World Order, where he just talks about these cycles that he's kind of looked at and identified, that, you know, the Dutch Empire had its rise, and it was the global currency reserve, and then it got overextended, and it had debt, and then it was printing money, and then it was on the decline, and then the British Empire was on the rise at this point, and there was conflict. And then the British Empire became the dominant force, and it was the global currency and yada yada. And then the U.S. Empire rose, and the thesis is that the U.S. is now kind of in this zone where we're overextended, we're printing money, interest rates are going bananas, and that's all part of this bigger cycle. While in the East, China is on the rise, and what happens here? And all of these are conflicts and changing of the guard. And so it's not like we need to panic, we need to be hoarding and, underground in our bunkers, but it's just kind of an interesting way to look at humans as going through these cycles, that the things that are happening today that seem dire and cataclysmic and, end of the world. I mean, if you think about it, Christians have been living thinking that we're in the end times for 2,000 years. And so that's kind of where we, our mind kind of thinks that we're on the cutting edge when we don't really see that it's just this cycle after cycle after cycle. And yeah, they're different. Yeah, the stakes are higher. Yeah, there's more blood and chaos and things. But I like that view of seeing things as an organic happening and trusting it, trusting the process, trusting that we ourselves are what the earth is doing. And even if we've got all these fancy technologies and things now, it's still moving under this same kind of guiding flow. The last thing I'll say here is, how are you? It's easy to get stuck into these things and kind of make them personal, but really, the big lesson that I've learned in the last year is nothing about crypto. It's really about what I value. And I know what my needs are. My needs are few. My wants may be many, but my needs are few. And when I focus on those, when I take care of those relationships and my personal well-being and just, actually investing time and energy into the things that are returning value to my life, those real needs, that has been a profoundly transformative thing. And I feel 100% better. If Luna went to 0, I feel like my stock and myself went to 100 in the last year, just because I've been able to really focus on things that are more important than money. So I encourage people to ask that question: what do you need versus what do you want? And really focus on those needs, and they're pretty simple. The last thing I'll say is that in a video I did 2 videos ago with my good friend Leah, she's very skilled at walking people through this process, this experience of welcoming our emotions, holding them, going into them, feeling them. It could be an emotion, it could be a thought, it could be an experience, it could be anything that's challenging or positive, just anything at all. We can really see them as the contents of our mind and body and not us ourselves. And so in welcoming this, if you lost your life savings in Luna, sit with that, like feel it deeply, feel it fully, let it suck, go into it. Don't run from it. Don't hide from it. This is true of anything, really. Let it be what it is and feel it fully. And then, ask yourself the question, can I let this go? And the answer to that is pretty much always yes. Yes, it is possible to let this go. Is it hard? Yes. The next question is, would I let this go? Because sometimes we don't want to let go yet. Sometimes there's a lesson that needs to be learned. Sometimes we want to sit with our grief or these emotions. We want to hold them. We don't want to be done with them yet. They're still there to teach us. So it's always up to us when we want to let that go. But then the last question, when will I let this go? When we decide I will let this go now, and then we just let it go, Practicing that, I have found, is extremely powerful. I've been able to drop things that are on my mind, things that are stressing me out, emotions, situations that I'm stuck on. Just giving ourselves the permission and the ability to let go allows us to flow on to the next thing, and we will always flow on to the next thing. So, long video today. I know that's a lot, but sincerely, folks, I love and appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for just supporting me in my stoke in coming on here and just sharing thoughts. I will say, just as a personal plug, that if you like me, you like what I do, I've actually set up just kind of on a whim. I set up a Gumroad page where I have. And I haven't sold any of these yet, but I have a 1 hour uncomplication session that if you just want to talk, you want to go through what's on your mind. It could be about your business, it could be about your life, it could be about crypto. I think that one of the things I'm really good at is listening and helping people organize their thoughts, digging into just the complexity of a situation, and then trying to find that simplicity. So if that's something that you are interested in, just having like a one-on-one conversation, I just threw this up here to see, what happens, but I'm just going to put it out to this community. I love getting into the weeds with people, and I love just sharing my experience. I've been an entrepreneur. I started a company, ran it for 10 years. I have a lot of experience with creativity and making things go, and also a lot of experience with just accepting life on its own terms and flowing through it. So hit me up if you're interested, and I'll leave it at that. I got to get to my meeting. I'm already late. All right. Cheers.